Gold would be really, not just yellow, because yellow to me almost looks like Mountain Dew lightsaber.
I was just going to say that, Mountain Dew or pee. Pee. Someone needs to drink more water.
This is Emrys and Luthien, and welcome to Girls with Sabers.
This new trilogy is just lost in translation, and I think some of that is because it has never been told from a female perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in some of the complaints that I'm hearing about, Rey didn't receive training or things like that, it's completely men not understanding how women learn and interact with the world around them.
I think it's involuntary ignorance.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because,
men
ahead.
are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Right.
I mean, it's the tried and true adage of that. And a man is not going to fully understand that. No. He never will. Just like we aren't going to fully be able to tap into a man's mind. You know, it's just that it is what it is.
Yeah. The world needs both. Just like the galaxy far, far away needs both. They don't read or watch female-oriented content, where most of the content out there is more masculine, and there's a wider variety of women watching masculine-oriented characters than female-oriented characters. Now, I'm not saying anything about representation or anything like that. I'm just saying...
Right.
It's just more, there's just more of it out there, and it's more socially acceptable for men to not watch the girl movies.
I think that's another wonderful thing about Wonder Woman. She brought, because of her physical looks, but that movie brought male fans out in droves for many different reasons. And I bring Wonder Woman up because it sucks to be a movie like Wonder Woman to try to carry this almost alone, because you're not seeing a Scarlet Witch movie, you're not seeing a Black Widow movie like an offshoot for Marvel. So really Wonder Woman was kind of carrying it on her own,
right?
The torch. But it was almost a lose-lose. There's a part in that movie where she and what's-his-face, Chris Pine's character, are coming through, they finally got off that boat and they left Land of the Amazons. But what I'm saying, they're both walking and she sees a baby and she starts cooing at the baby. She goes, "Oh, what a cute little baby." Oh, feminists lost their shit with that. It's no, she can't coo a baby. I mean, what is wrong with that? Why can't she be strong and coo a baby? This is to me, that whole uproar was the most ridiculous thing ever. There's nothing wrong with being both.
Right.
A strong female character and having just an ounce of maternal instinct and cooing a baby. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. In the original trilogy, no one really ever thought Leia was very strong with the Force, but yet it still moved through her. Luke says that in Return of the Jedi. My father has it, my sister has it. She's like, "Oh, I kind of always have known, that they were, brother and sister," probably after the kiss, because it felt like you were kissing your brother. I'm just going to say that right now.
Right. Men and women train differently. They learn differently, and they influence the world differently. Luke was teaching Leia and Rey the same way about feeling the Force. And we were talking about how Rey, that really much explains how the Force interacts with her and how Maz instructed her to feel the Force. Her abilities are very much sensory and touch and things that we mostly associate women doing in mythology. And I think that's one of the misunderstandings of people saying, well, she had no training. Right? She did have training, but it was very feminine based. It's very much how Luke trained Leia, is feeling, what do you feel? Reach out with your feelings. And she had a emotional connection with the Force during that first lesson. And she does the same with Kylo. How does she interact with him? It's through feelings.
She reaches her hand out to him.
And, with the guards in the novel, she could feel the Force around them, and she could feel their torture and their sensitivity, and it helped her win that fight.
That's really explained well in the novel, just so you can take the viewer along on that journey.
But I think in some ways they did. I think it's just we have been trained to think that Jedi training is more physical and skill and martial arts and all that. But that's because it was always told from a male's perspective. We have never seen a female being trained. And I'm not talking about
Ahsoka.
Because she is more, I would say, it's not that she's not feminine, but her mind is more masculine oriented in personality.
Yeah.
Where Rey and Leia are more emotional and more of like the stereotypical female and princess of the story. So they're going to be taught differently.
Right. Well, I mean, you look at Ahsoka is a prime example of being Anakin Skywalker's Padawan.
Right.
You know, she's going to pick up all of his tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree with your statement regarding the femininity with Rey and Leia regarding the Force. They're going to learn it in a feminine way.
You know, men and women train differently. They learn differently, and they influence the world differently. Rey, because everyone was like, what is her arc? What does she want? I said, she wants belonging. She doesn't want to be the biggest, baddest warrior and to be a Jedi like her father. What she wants is belonging. And to me, I think that's why, in some ways, Rian Johnson is right when he says that is the toughest thing she could hear at that moment, is that she is the daughter of nobody, because that makes her in that galaxy nothing. Where what got her through Jakku was the stories of Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, and she just kind of fed on that. And what helps Kylo is that, oh, goodness, my grandfather was Darth freaking Vader. And maybe if I become that, maybe these people who showed me so little attention and just kept on discarding me to other relatives, maybe they will see that I was actually somebody all along. It's belonging and it's identity, and very much that is the adolescent story, especially for girls. It's also finding belonging and acceptance and figuring out the code of women, because women are very different in how they interact with the world, and they're trying to discover what is acceptable and what is not acceptable for them to do. And I don't think men have that strict of a code to follow.
No, they certainly don't.
Because it seems like we not only have appearance to care more about and jobs to care about and to do well, but men can just fight and then can let that aggression out, and then things are better. Where women, it is a slow burn of manipulation. If you don't follow the girl code, you will die a slow, manipulative death when girls attack you for not following the girl code.
It's vicious.
It is so vicious.
Very vicious. That's another reason why I hope that JJ writes Rose really well, because I really feel, we've seen a little bit of Rey and Leia together, just a tiny bit. And obviously, if they don't recast Leia, we're not going to get that in 9. But I would love to see Rey's female dynamic, the female relationship that she has. And obviously it's going to have to be with Rose, not only. And at the end of The Last Jedi, I didn't sense a jealous feeling, because she probably doesn't know how to feel jealous. I'm sure she feels envious of a lot of things. But I'm sure she looked upon Finn and Rose with more envy than anything. I don't think she ever loved Finn.
I don't either.
Like romantically loved him. But she probably definitely looked upon that moment and went, God, I wish I had that with Ben.
Absolutely.
I hope to have that with Ben. But I think Rose is going to be the first character to pick up on Rey and Ben having something together. because we know she's going to try to hide it. I think Rose is going to be the one to pick up on it first, unless, Leia would be recast, even though I think Leia already knew. Being a mother, even if she didn't have, even if she wasn't Force sensitive, Leia knew when Rey was holding that broken lightsaber and she went, "We have what we need," or "We have all that we need." You knew what Leia meant.
Well, and she says it in the novel. I mean, she thinks that Rey of Jakku is going to be able to be the one that helped her son. Yeah, I love that scene, and because she is clutching the half of two lightsabers, like that's her most prized possession. And it's interesting.
It's broken heart in her hands.
I actually read, and I'll try to find the original post and who did it and link them below. But there was someone who was saying that when Leia touched the one half of that lightsaber, that person believed she was touching the half that was Ben's.
Full body chills.
And
I love that idea.
She says, "We have all that we need." Meaning, I think that Leia foresaw that lightsaber will be repaired because Restwell people, that's what happens in mythic quests all the time. The family lightsaber is always repaired when there's the return of the king.
Shards of Narsil.
Anduil,
Flame of the freaking West.
Excalibur. I mean, that sword is always a symbol of a family in a dynasty. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
That is like standard mythic language, and I have no doubt that the saber flew into Rey's hands because Anakin and Padme were in the Force saying, make that saber fly into her hands, because that's a future Skywalker right there.
Yes. You look at, my heart's going to hurt on this, you look at Once Upon a Time, and you look at people who are listening, if you're familiar with that story, Snow and Prince Charming. In one of the seasons, she rips her heart in half, and she gives half to Charming so he can live. So they're always living with half a heart. But that's in the same vein with that saber split in two. I'm wondering if this could be that type of thing, where either they split the kyber crystal and make two new sabers, or they repair it together. They're going to be probably tossing each other's sabers back and forth between each other and using them.
Just like in the throne room. That's what I love about that, is it's a full circle. Ben arms Rey with his family lightsaber after he kills Snoke. And then once they're both in the precarious positions of having their heads chopped off, Rey, as soon as she's free, she gives Ben that saber right back, and it makes a full circle.
Wouldn't it just be the best if we did see an epic lightsaber battle where they're fighting probably other Force wielders?
Right.
They have to, like, mid-fight, they, like, switch sabers. And, she's got the legacy saber now, and he's got her dual saber staff, because we all know she's going to have a staff.
Woo-hoo!
Let's be honest.
I'm so excited.
They would not have given her a staff at the beginning of the movie and have her fight really well with it, and not give her a staff like Maul. Even though, let's make it a little bit shorter here, and workable for the female form. But they're giving her a staff. Give me a break. But wouldn't it be awesome, whatever sabers they each have, if they so fluidly interchange them during a duel? Holy crap. That would be so awesome.
Yes, it would. She force pulled.
Took his right off his belt loop.
Yes, to his shock.
Yeah. So it wasn't just lying on the ground, folks. It was against his body.
I just love that scene in the novel, because he's like equally like upset about it and equally turned on about it.
Like, she took my saber, but I can't really be upset about it because
she's
turning me on a bit. Wait, now I gotta focus on killing my master.
Shoot.
Yeah.
She is going to be his equal, But I don't think she's there yet.
They're not there yet for each other.
Right.
They were in the throne room.
Yes.
And they were in the hut on Ahch-To, but they were, which is crazy because that was the most balance we've seen between them, going both ways. In the hut on Ahch-To, Rey was talking, and Ben was just sitting there, listening, wasn't giving any advice. He was doing what a man should do when a female just wants someone to listen. He was listening. He was just sitting there. He was listening. And then he said, "You're not alone."
Right.
It was beautiful. And then in the throne room, Rey standing there, "You just killed Snoke with her eyes." And Ben's like, "We're not done yet."
Yeah.
And they go crazy. It was lit in there, literally.
Oh.
So you have such a juxtaposition between before Luke blows up the hut, it's so calm. And it was amazing.
And that's what, when men and women work together instead of against each other, that's what can happen. And I think that's why there's so much emasculation and misogyny in this movie. And I know maybe people would disagree with me, but I think that's why there was such a push and pull with Holdo and Poe, and a push and pull with Finn and Rose at some time. They were showing what happens when men and women do not work together, and they fight each other, or they don't listen to each other, or they distrust each other. There's no listening on Poe's part or Finn's part. And then when Rose and Finn present their plan to Poe, Rose literally has to walk in front of them to be heard when it was her plan. And to me, I mean, it went too far. Don't get me wrong. There is still scenes in there where Holdo goes way too far with Poe. I think that is to juxtapose what's happening with Kylo and Rey, is what happens when men and women actually listen to each other and actually work together instead of trying to fight for power or fight for whatever their selfish needs are, and work together as a common whole.
I think that is probably one of the best explanations about The Last Jedi that you can get. It doesn't help that with everything political going on, it didn't help that that was the mindset that people had going into the film.
Right.
Going into the film where they wanted to escape what was happening on the outside. They saw that in the theater.
Right.
And just remained pissed.
Yeah.
Now, I saw it. Yes. Is there some of that in the movie? Yes. Why? Because those movies are naturally going to mirror what is happening in real life.
Yes.
Just like the original trilogy did. When you explained it from that point of view, it makes me want to watch it again and actually not fast forward through Holdo or Rose's scenes like I normally do. Don't get me wrong. When I watch The Last Jedi, it's a Reylo film with Luke on crate.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because now I'm remembering back and I'm going, it makes perfect sense. And if we were to watch this again now and lay down commentary track, those would all probably mirror each other as far as what's happening in each subsequent scene. Ben's never really yelling at her. Rey is feeling this turmoil and yelling at Ben and going through all the stuff she's going through on Ahch-To, and Luke isn't listening to her. What is going on in the next scene or the scene after that? What is happening when men and women aren't listening to each other and they're just in their own head game?
Mm-hmm.
And people are forgetting that even though this story wasn't cohesive to the flow of the first film, yes, we're all going to get out of it what we want to get out of it. And sure, we all see some scenes differently. Like we were talking about in the end where Leia puts her hand on half of the legacy saber. Em and I just got out of that what we just said. And you probably got something, as a listener, got something different. That, there's nothing wrong with that. But let's remember that Rian Johnson still wrote The Last Jedi. He still wrote the story, and yeah, he had a story group with him. Ryan writes women horribly.
Yes. Rose is an example of that. Holdo is an example of that. There's a way to show the tug of war of emasculation and misogyny and the imbalance of the sexes without just making it off-putting. But
JJ knows how to write women well.
Yes.
And again, it comes all the way back to Felicity. Fully believe that if JJ were to write The Force Awakens in the mid to late 90s, Kerry Russell would be playing Rey.
Oh, yeah.
Boom.
Yes.
Oh, hands down. Hands down. And I would love her. And I would love her dearly. And I would pay $1 million to see that.
I would too. Oh, I would too.
No, I want to start the rumor that Kerry Russell's going to be in 9 and she's going to be Rey's mom.
She's Mary Jane.
Oh my God, all of a sudden, hashtag, it's trending on Twitter. Kerry Russell's in episode 9 and she's playing Rey's mom. So guys, if you really enjoyed what we had to say today, please give us a big thumbs up, like this video, comment below, subscribe to our channel, make sure to turn on notifications to all so you get all the new content we feel like dropping on any given day, really. All magic comes with a price. I'm not well versed in DC, so this is a stretch for me.
I know DC's Holy Trinity, but I don't know Wonder Woman. I know Batman and Batman and Superman. I'm sorry, Marvel. Please don't strike me down.
Sorry, Marvel fans. Sorry, DC fans.
I know Spider-Man is Marvel.
The shit out of this.
I was bitten by a spider.
Yeah. And was bitten by a spider. I mean, we're going downhill real quick here. Sorry, everything I see now is a spider, and it's not.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you.
It's okay. Okay.
Maybe I'll wake up and have Spidey sense. I won't have to go to the gym anymore or watch carbs.
Yeah. And all of a sudden you get up off the floor and you look at the mirror and you're Tobey Maguire and you're ripped, you're jacked.
I hope I'm not Tobey Maguire.